Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Beyond the Mat with me, J. Cole Yoga. We are out in the forest, and I say we because I'm here with Ty the dog. Hey, Ty Ty. Hey, girl. Hey, girl. She's a little camera shy. So I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's truly a city of lakes. There's little lakes that pop up everywhere, and I found this one behind the house the other day. I don't know if you guys can see that through the bushes down there. You can see the water. Anywho, we'll be going over there later after this video. And today's video is a little bit different. It's not really a topic on external things as the videos usually are. This is about the first time and only time that I ever tried DMT, dimethyltryptamine. So DMT is in anything with a carbon molecule. It's in every plant, it's in every living creature, it is in your body right now. The liver takes care of it. It's also in the pineal gland inside the head. And yeah, if you want to know more about DMT, you can do your own little research. And I just wanted to, I don't know if I'll say quickly, but I will briefly go over my experience with it and then what happened after. So I guess a little background was I had lived in Los Angeles for a year. I had fled Los Angeles for almost a year. I was living in Nelson in British Columbia, up in the Kootenays in the mountains, where these two friends had some DMT, and they said, hey, do you want to try it? And of course, I really did. I was in a position of life where I had a crossroads, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go with my life or anything like that. And I thought an experience, I had read about DMT before, I thought an experience like that would really help the situation at hand, and it totally did and it totally didn't at the same time. So the first thing that we did was they had their own glass pipe for the DMT to go into, and DMT is a crystal. It'll either be white, yellowish, or orange. If it's ever blue or green, apparently that's not the right color. Don't smoke that. And so my friend was putting it into the bowl, and then his spouse was like, no, like, come on, Jay's hardcore there, you better put some more in. So they ended up putting 3 times the dose what a normal person would take their first time, because they really wanted I really wanted to break through the veil. So apparently there's like, some people will try DMT and it's like eating like a little bit of magic mushrooms. You kind of feel the idea of where things are going, and you understand that it could get stronger and deeper and more enveloped. And so DMT is a lot like that, in the sense that if you take a little bit, I could see how you wouldn't truly break through the veil. And so what happened was, I guess I'll tell you guys a little bit of important facts first, because set and setting is very important. You'd like to be in a room with people that you trust. You really want to be in a place where you feel safe and secure. You really want to not have any like dangerous things around or dangerous people around. And good music in the background is always a plus. And Icaros, and Icaro is sung by a shaman in the jungle, and they sing to the DMT spirits when you're doing an ayahuasca ceremony. So you can find those on YouTube, and you could play anything like that. Soft, gentle acoustic music would be nice in the background. I had initially wanted to put the Icaros on, and then, I don't know, I just brain farted, and I didn't even go and look it up or put it on or anything. And so it just kind of skipped over that, and we sat in silence. So I was sitting in a chair in a room with 3 of my very close, trusted friends, and low lighting again, everything was nice. We'd probably smoked a little bit of pot earlier in the evening. And yeah, so I put the bowl up to my lips, the glass pipe that was only ever used for DMT, and I lit the bowl and burned off what was on there, the little crystals that were on there, and inhaled the whole thing and I held it in, and I held it in as long as I could, and then on the exhale, I could feel literally every muscle in my body just kind of like relaxing. And it was a relaxation that was like the first time it had ever happened. It's as if I had never been that relaxed before. And I just kind of melted back down into this lazy boy chair that I was sitting in. And I melted into the chair, and it was just, the room kind of melted away. If anyone's ever tried Salvia divinorum before, you'll understand the transitionary phase from when you try the herb into when it gets you into this other dimension. And it was very similar in the way that you fade out of this dimension into that other dimension, into the DMT realm and into the Salvia realm. Very similar. Only with Salvia, I find very chemically feeling, and you could really feel like this jitteriness in your body, almost like slices over you were being transported away. And with DMT, it was not like that. It was a very soft and gradual, casual melting and fading, a soft gradient fade into this other dimension. And I mean, my eyes shut, and immediately I had this big dumb grin on my face, and my friend was recording it too, and for whatever reason I ended up losing that video, which would have been great to include in this today. So I just sat there on the couch with this big dumb grin on my face, and in my mind, my eyes were now shut. I was transported to this other dimension where everything was made out of these geometric shapes. And I don't even want to say geometric shapes, because it wasn't all angular like a geometry. Some of it was smooth curves and roundedness, and everything was flowing and moving and twisting and bending. And you could really tell that this dimension I was in, everything was alive. And I was sort of on a track, let's say, like in a roller coaster for kids, very slowly being pulled through. And I felt like on the way in, there was this telepathy speaking to me, and I wasn't speaking with actual words, but there was more feelings. And what the feelings said to me was that, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Just relax and enjoy the ride. And so I was like, yeah. And then I was washed over my whole body, this warm maternal love that only a mother's love can give someone. And it was just so invigorating, and it was so calming and soothing to feel that motherly love coming from someone who's not your mother, obviously, from these foreign entities who had never met you before, who really have nothing, they have no reason to give you this motherly love, but there it was. And I felt that, and that along with the telepathic voices saying like, don't worry, it's going to be okay. And I just kind of went along with the ride, and I'm looking around in this dimension that I'm in, and I'm looking at the sky, and I'm looking at everything around me, trying to make heads or tails of what I'm seeing. But obviously I hadn't had any training about what I was about to go into beforehand, so I didn't really have any archetypes to apply to any of this stuff. And so I was on this track, and it's kind of moving me through, and there was a guide there with me, some kind of DMT guide entity, although I couldn't put a face on it. I couldn't say which of these blobs or these shapes or these things that I was seeing around me was the entity. I couldn't discern what was what from what. Kind of like looking at a bunch of two-dimensional paneling all stacked behind each other, and they're also moving and flowing and changing colors and glowing and things like that. And just very incredible, very profound, and the kind of thoughts that you're having about life and how everything is connected, and it's showing you this realm of connectivity and how the whole universe is all connected as one. And these are just kind of the profound thoughts that you're having as you're being towed through this dimension, and this thing is kind of pointing things out to me. Over here to your left, we've got this and that, and to the right. Again, it wasn't with words, it was more of a feeling, a telepathic feeling. And at one point, the trip kind of stopped, and I felt like I was up on a building, on a balcony of a building, where this entity had led me out onto the balcony to look out over the vast land around, where there was an ocean of sorts. It's just my interpretation of it. There was a land below me, I could tell. Below, things got further away. Vast, very vast. I mean, here I am in the mountains in the Kootenays in British Columbia, and I'm seeing some kind of vast alien landscape, alien oceans and lands and structures and things like that. And it all just kind of went out before me. And so I was reminded at this time of a podcast I had listened to, and I had heard a guy, Joe Rogan, talk about these DMT trips, and he was saying how he's like, yeah, at any time you can just open your eyes and you're right back there in the room with your buddies. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to open my eyes and I'm going to see if I'm back in the room with my buddies. And sure enough, I opened my eyes and there I was, back in the room with all my friends. Now, things were a little bit different because everyone had these electric lines going through them and going through the air, connecting them, connecting their bodies, these lines of energy glowing. And it was almost as if the energy is what was holding everything together. It had a gravity to it, and it was going through the air in almost geometric shapes here and there, almost like you were inside of a honeycomb, and you could just see the lines of energy that would draw out these honeycomb kind of shapes. It's the best interpretation I have for it right now. And yeah, it was very profound. And I looked around and I saw my friends, and they're all staring at me like they're just sitting there like, oh, he opened his eyes, oh, and like I could tell they wanted to talk and say something, and I looked at them, and I looked at the room, and I looked around, and I saw all this energy, and I could see how everything was held together. Again, you're still feeling that connectivity with the universe and with everyone. That motherly love is still there, and I thought, okay, cool, yeah. Now I'm gonna close my eyes. Now, see, I've never had lucid dreams. I've never been able to control my dreams. I'm always just kind of pulled along on these tracks and these things, and I never have control over it. And it was at this point when I had opened my eyes and came back into real reality here, real reality, wink wink. It was at this time that I started to regain control of everything. So when I closed my eyes, I was back up on that balcony again, and I now had a little bit more control, only I couldn't really. I tried to turn around and go somewhere, only I kept bumping into, I guess, walls or something. So I was up on the balcony, and it was at this time that everything slowly began to fade away. And I began to fade back into this dimension here, back into this reality, this real reality again. Wink, wink. And that was when I knew, I could tell the trip was over, the journey was ended. And I was back in the living room again, and I opened my eyes up, and when I looked at the floor and the walls and things like that, the energy was still there, but the energy lines were fading now. And the energy lines that were holding my friends together were all fading now. And I kind of had that feeling like on magic mushrooms, on psilocybin mushrooms, you know, when the floor patterns, the floor tiles are all morphing and waving and moving, and the walls are breathing, and you have that sense that everything is alive. That was definitely there, and it was part of the transitionary phase, getting from the DMT realm back into real reality, wink wink. It was just such a slow process, and it really guided you back in so softly. It was like the best pilot landing the plane, you know, when you don't even feel the wheels hit, and you're landed, and you're in, and now you're out here again, and you're back in reality. And so this is kind of the situation I was left in. And then for probably the next 20 minutes, I was still kind of, my mind was recoiling with everything that I had just seen in that other dimension, everything within the DMT realm. And I guess I just sat there with still the same dumb grin on my face, a big smile. I couldn't stop smiling, probably for like an hour afterwards. And it was interesting. My friends were they wanted to know what I'd seen, where I had been, who I talked to, what had happened, and it was too much. It probably took several months to figure out what I had seen, what had happened. And I mean, all I could just, you know, it's like a monkey with a crayon, I felt, you know. That's, oh Ty, it's okay, we'll go for a walk in a minute, it's almost over. So I want to talk about the changes that happened afterwards. And I mean, it's not like I just hopped out the next day and put on a bunch of weird hippie clothes and started wearing yoga pants and doing stuff like that. It was literally over the next 9 months, very slow, gradual, transitional phase happened in my life. I just started to, all the old things, all the old garbage, all the old shit of my life, I had realized that everything I had learned up until then, the culmination to that point, everything I had thought was something dear to my heart, everything I had thought was so important in life. It was so important, social status, not only that, respect, having, as a hip-hop artist, having a respect, being the best at things. Like, there's a lot of things that, just being good at your job, at life, being a nice person. There's a lot of things that, I mean, these are all great things, but I had really kind of built them up and put them on this higher than they needed to be pedestal. And so things like that just melted away and faded away. And I learned that, you know, you don't have to be the best at everything. You don't have to be the best lyricist. You don't have to do this and that and this and that. And it just kind of slowly melted away. Within 3 months is when I had decided that I need to make a big change in my life, and I need to do something different. I was working at a shit job in a department store that I just didn't want anything to do with anymore, and the people there were driving me crazy, and it just wasn't something that I wanted in my universe. And I was doing yoga one morning, and I laid there on the floor, and it just hit me almost as if a DMT burst had come back, and it just said, Jay, like, this is the path, this is your direction, like, follow your heart, what you want to do here, follow it to the end. And so I immediately registered for yoga teacher school in another part of the province. So it took another, what was that, 6 months before I could get out of that. I had to keep working at this shitty department store that I didn't want to be at, and living this life up in these mountains that I didn't really enjoy anymore, and I didn't want anything to do with it, but I just had to keep plugging through. I knew that at the end something better was coming from it all. And so every day I would walk down that mountain to work, and then about halfway through another 3 months, so 6 months after the DMT experience, I had had other awakenings before in my life, and we'll talk about those in other videos. And I had had this heart chakra awakening, and I really hadn't read enough about the chakras at this point, and so I didn't really know what was going on. And I guess we'll talk about this fully in another video. I guess it'd probably be a better idea. Keep these things short. So the heart awakening happened as I was walking to work, let's just put it that way, and I had to stop for a second and just really like take it all in. And then when I had returned to work after that, it made things a little better. It made things easier going. And another 3 months went by. Trials and tribulations, sure. Friendships, loves, made and gained and lost, everything like that, sure. Living life to its fullest, sure. Went to some hot springs in British Columbia, sure. Did all the things. And after the 3 months was over, I had gone and done my yoga teacher training, and I mean, everything was on this incredible forward momentum, this crazy forward, like, here we go, we're moving, this is happening, and it's working, and all the things that I putting my mind to are manifesting around me. And I feel like partially because of the aspects of how it is in Nelson, British Columbia, that it sits on a largest quartz deposit in Canada. The whole mountain is a quartz mountain. I feel that people who manifest things in Nelson, they truly manifest them. You're able to get what you really want, but you're also able to get what you really don't want. And for that matter, I got out of Nelson. I went to Vancouver Island in Victoria, did my training for a whole month, all intensive, 200 hours packed into 1 month. It was intense. There's a reason why they call it intensive, because it's intense. Got through it, graduated, and then family was having some issues back home on the East Coast, and I started my journey back east. That's a whole other story though. And the DMT though is really what put me where I'm at and why I'm here and why I'm able to just do all these things without any it's like having no inhibitions anymore. I mean, here I am walking around in Halifax wearing crazy yoga leggings and a blanket wrapped around my body and a bunch of scarves and shit, and I get all the weirdest stares from everybody, but you know what? It just rolls right off my shoulder because I'm doing what's purely in my heart right now. I'm doing everything that I want to do, and I'm not listening to a wife or a girlfriend or a parent or a spouse or a brother or even a friend. I'm just doing me right now, and this is exactly what I want to do and where I want to be and how I want to be doing it, and hopefully some of it spreads to other people. Now, I don't want everyone to get scared and think that if you try DMT that you're gonna wrap a scarf around your head and become some kind of yoga hippie. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, that was just my path. I had already been researching this stuff beforehand. I was kind of on the fence about it, and it just kind of catapulted me into where I really needed to be. And I feel that it could do the same for a lot of people. Now, if you're someone who's maybe tried psychedelics before, and if you're a little bit neurotic, you're not the type of person that wants to let go of control. You need to understand that this rock is still a rock, and that this tree is still a tree, and this dog is still a dog. You are one of those people who can't let go and fully enjoy the trip and just let it take you. It's like, it's the equivalent to being on a roller coaster. You buy the ticket and you get on the ride and you take it. And you can hang on. Oh God, you're hanging on. And you're gonna have the worst trip or roller coaster ride of your life. But the people who throw their arms up in the air, and scream and wave and go all wild and willy-nilly, they have the best experience. And it's because they let go and they enjoyed the trip and they smiled and laughed and let the air out and everything. And it's the same with any psychedelic experience. You just got to throw your arms up in the air and just let it take you. Let it wash over you. And a lot of people have fears that they just can't let go of, and they're fearful of all the things that the media and governments have said to them in the past about certain psychedelics. And I mean, all of that is totally a lot of bullshit, because none of it has ended up to be true for myself. Although I have been with some friends who have been those neurotic kind of people who had really bad trips in the psychedelic realm. And so if you are a neurotic person, maybe you might want to maybe do some courses first on the medicine that you're going to be experiencing, and maybe have some kind of background and some kind of philosophy attached to it, so you'll understand what you're seeing and what you're going through. I think that's it for today, folks. This is the longest one that I've ever done, and this dog is getting really antsy. She wants to walk, 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 walk. All she do is walk, 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 walk. Ty wanna walk, 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 walk. Oh yeah, now she's looking. So, we'll be back again with some more of these awesome videos. Coming up next, we'll talk about that heart-opening experience. Walking down the mountain, get into more detail about that. That's it for today. Peace, love, and light. Namaste, and all that other good noise. And we out.